Tonight. And first, I will be introducing the presiding officer, which is Kayla.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well and ready for another exciting meeting at the Future Leaders Gavel Club. My name is Kayla Van Brunt. It is an honor to be your club president, and I would like to officially call this meeting to order. The Future Leaders Gavel Club is a Toastmasters club open to middle school and high school students in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Each meeting has 3 parts: a prepared speech section, a table topics or impromptu speaking section, and an evaluation section. To help start our meeting tonight, I would like to introduce our Toastmaster of tonight, Ethan, who will be guiding us through each segment. Ethan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Caleb. And as you can see, I've just come up with a new alias for the Toastmaster. We should start calling it the string puller. I realize that the Toastmaster already has many aliases. Let's add that to the list. But anyways, now let's first meet our functionaries. The first of who is odd counter Claire. Yes, Claire's actually here. Great. So will you tell us about the odd counter's role?
Thank you, Ethan. The purpose of the owl counter is to note words and sounds such as crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Words may be inappropriate interjections such as and, well, but, so, you know. Sounds may be or I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase.
Thank you, Claire. Yes, my eyes are itching again. Now we have William, the grammarian. Will you please tell us about your role?
Thank you, Toastmaster Ethan, for the introduction. Can everyone hear me? I'll take silence as a yes. So as the grammarian, I will listen for the word of the day, which is serendipity. Serendipity is a noun, and it means the occurrence of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. An example of how you would use serendipity in context is, I found my favorite book through pure serendipity, stumbling upon it in a small hidden bookstore. Take a look, future leaders, in the chat. Please try to use this word of the day throughout tonight's meeting. I will be listening to everyone's word usage and write down any awkward use or misuse of the English language. Back to you, Toastmaster Ethan.
Yeah. Thank you, William. And now finally, I see the timer today is Janya.
Thank you, Ethan. As the timer, I will monitor time for each speaker and signal them with wait just a second. Okay. With a green background, which shows that you're in the minimum time required, and the yellow one, which is in the middle of the minimum and the maximum time required, and red for when you have to stop. Thank you, and back to you, Ethan.
Here, thank you, Janya. It has also been brought to my attention that neither of the speech evaluators are here. Great. As you can tell, the sarcasm there was pretty thick. So I guess we got to deal with that now. I mean, I could become one of the evaluators if absolutely necessary. I mean, everybody here already has a role, so I guess I could become one of the speech evaluators, but then we'd still need somebody else to do the other speech as well.
Ethan, you can
Okay.
evaluate both if you don't mind.
I guess
can
that'll
do the
work then.
second
All
one
right.
if you need.
All right.
Yeah, I can do the second one if you would
All
like.
right. All right. I guess Clara is doing the being evaluator number 2 until well, actually no, Angelina's not coming today. Yeah. I guess we could replace speech 2 evaluator with Claire, and then I guess I'll be the speech 1 evaluator. Okay. Well, speaking of speech 1, I guess we should get along with actually, doing that. According to the agenda, speech 1 tonight is going to be by Michelle. I don't have either the title or the introduction though, so As Michelle, whenever the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ethan. Now imagine this. You're strolling through a beautiful park during autumn, and you look around, but everyone's down, their heads hanging down, eyes glued to their phone in their hands, barely looking up, not even speaking to one another, just scrolling. Now, this speech was inspired by the little documentary slash drama film called The Social Dilemma. If you know and watched it, then that's great for you. But if you don't know, then let me break down all the issues with social media they find in there. Now, the Social Dilemma's film main goal was to show that social media does not have it does have an impact on the world outside of those small screens, and how it changes and morphs ideas into some wrong thought process, or how it causes people to gain mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, etc., or even how it manipulates us. Now, let's get started. Social media is huge. There's lots of people who have used it or have it, right? Well, just imagine when someone spreads misinformation. Someone believes it, and then they say it to someone else, and the train of misinformation just continues and continues. Well, how would you react if I told you that caused a whole genocide? That's right, a whole genocide. The wrong, I don't even know how to pronounce this, but the wrong genocide to be specific. Now, if a whole genocide was caused by social media, imagine the influence against all of us humans. Secondly, a lot of teens and young children are on the platform and they're exposed to lots of media, basically, right? Well, teens get insecure when they see all those perfect people having the perfect lives they want. They get depressed, anxiety, stress, they get insecure, etc., etc. Think of it. When a teen posts a picture of themselves, people can say whatever they want on there, which can either result in a negative effect or positive effect. Well, they're teens, they're sensitive, and probably are not ready to be exposed to this kind of media. And lastly, social media. They manipulate us into watching or using more time on the app. Well, how, you might be asking? Well, the thing is, they use AI. Yep, AI. They use AI to learn about you, what you like, what you dislike, what kind of media you watch, what kind of media you spend the time most on. Basically, machine learning, but instead it's of being used for good, it's being used to maximize your time spent on your device. If I'm being completely honest with you, it's making you addicted to your device. Making it so every second without it is literal pain. So, all in all, all I'm trying to say is that instead of wasting your time on your phone watching How to Get Riz, just go outside and take a stroll in nature. Limit your screen time. Turn off notifications. Go frolic in the field with the butterflies, guys. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that speech, Michelle. That was some really good advice, and it was quite a relevant topic. And funnily enough, I actually just wrote about the fear of missing out in one of my college application essays. Coincidence. What a funny coincidence. But now going on to our second speaker for this evening, Rachel, who is apparently traveling on the road right now. So it'll be fun to hear what she has to say while she is traveling at several tens of meters per second. So, Rachel, whenever the floor is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster, aka String Puller Ethan. Yes, I am in the car, but I will still be able to give my speech. My speech is titled September Syndrome, Guilt Complexes, and Other Surmountable Problems. Have you ever had a day where you thought things couldn't possibly get better? Have you ever been too overcome with stress, anxiety, or just plain negativity? I have. I personally have a bad habit of being too negative and not even wanting to look for the positive in certain situations. I also often let my stress ruin things and I forget to enjoy myself and live my life. Life is very difficult and there's always something coming up, and it's often too difficult to see the positive side of things. It's too easy to see the negative. Sometimes circumstances are so terrible that they just seem hopeless. I've realized over many years so that nothing is hopeless and circumstances always end up getting better. For example, I've been very stressed out lately, and this week in particular has been the most heavy, stressful, overloading week of my entire school year. I find that for some reason I always get stressed in autumn, particularly September, so I keep referring to this as September syndrome. I keep thinking every September of my life is going to involve stress, anxiety, and other things just because it's been that same way for several years. But just because past Septembers weren't very good doesn't mean every September has to be the same way. This week I've started to get a handle on my homework, and I could have thought it was hopeless, but it turns out it really isn't. I just needed to get a lot done, and now things are starting to improve, and I think I no longer have September syndrome at the moment. Sometimes I face a situation where I think an entire day is ruined just because one bad thing happens, and I believe nothing else good can happen. Like yesterday, for example. Yesterday, I was very stressed about all the homework I had to do this week, and I was very tired, anxious, and admittedly a bit grouchy. I thought the day was just going to be terrible, and I didn't think it could possibly get better or be a good day, but boy, was I wrong. I got picked up by my mom and grandma from school, and my grandma wanted to surprise me by getting me a new pet snail. So, we went into the pet store, which was right across the street from my grandma's eye doctor. And it was a very serendipitous occasion because I was able to get the cutest little blue aquatic snail, and I named her Mary. Bringing Mary home and watching her interact with my other snail and watching her acclimate to the tank helped me forget about my problems and realize yesterday actually turned out to be a good day despite all the stress I was facing. You never know, what might seem like a terrible day at first could actually turn into a wonderful day. It kind of depends on how you circumstances. Now I will move on to present a more serious example of circumstances and in a situation. As some of you may know, when I was 15 years old, I had a guilt complex and I was facing so much anxiety, guilt, stress, and it took a lot of joy out of my life. And at one point, I actually felt depressed, and I'm lucky because that's the only time in my life I ever felt depressed. But even if I thought things were hopeless then, they didn't turn out to be all that hopeless. In fact, I was able to push through that guilt complex, and I was always strong enough to be able to enjoy the good things that happened along the way, such as sleepovers, time with family, or simply lunch at school with my best friend. Trials aren't, it's true. I'm not saying every situation can be perfect. I'm not saying that people can be happy all the time, but there's a way to overcome these problems and to find the positive even in the most negative circumstances. What I'm saying is it's best to try to enjoy life no matter what is going on, because it's always best to look at things in a positive light and believe that this too shall pass. There'll always be feelings of stress, anxiety. You will experience hard times, but you can overcome everything if you put your mind to it. The way life depends on how you view circumstances. Just remember, nothing is hopeless, and circumstances will always end up better, no matter what it takes. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very good speech. As you can tell, her bit rate isn't the most ideal right now, but that certainly did not stop her from giving some very uplifting advice. And it looks like her bit rate is better now. But anyways, let us now move on to the table of topics section of the meeting. Wow, 2 minutes ahead of schedule. Yippee! Hosted by Caleb. So Caleb, whenever you're ready, I'll hand the control over to you.
Thank you, Ethan. Today's table topic session is about decision dilemmas. I will present you with a dilemma and you will explain which decision you will choose in 1 to 2 minutes. So let's get started. Ding! You just received a Facebook message from Elon Musk. I mean, the real Elon Musk. And he is offering you a job at SpaceX as soon as you graduate high school, starting at $250,000 a year. However, if you accept the job, you will not be able to go to college. What will you choose? This question is for Ethan.
Okay, now this question might seem a bit hard on the surface because both are kind of, things that I would very much like to do. But after thinking about it for a while, I realized something. One, I like physics a lot, and two, SpaceX, while it is all about space exploration and stuff, I'm not training to become an astronaut. So, I would much rather go to college to study something like quantum physics than actually go work at SpaceX, even if it is a very high-paying job. Because sometimes I hear Elon Musk can be, a bit interesting at times, and I don't know how working at SpaceX would affect me. So, I would just much rather stick to college and learn about quantum physics than go to SpaceX, than work for SpaceX, but not actually be able to get a tertiary education. Back to you, Caleb.
Thank you so much, Ethan, for your response, and I think that is definitely a great choice. Our next question. You did a good deed, and suddenly a genie pops out of the bottle and gives you 2 options. Would you rather have the ability to talk to animals in short sentences or the ability to speak every human language fluently? Which one will you choose? And this question is for Eliana.
If I was able to speak to either animals or speak all the languages, I would pick all the languages because there are so many people out there with different cultures and ethnics, and it would be fun to learn about them and be able to speak with them. It's also good for traveling because you don't need a translator and you can find your way around easier. Also, for being a missionary, it is good for evangelizing easier and being able to talk to even the smallest tribes out there. And thank you.
Thank you, Ileana, for your response, and I think that is definitely a great choice. Our next question. You are at a used car dealership, and you are presented with 2 purchasing options. Now, the first car is a clunker, which you have been told has no air conditioner or heater, but it is guaranteed to get every light green. Now, the second car is a sports car in mint condition, but you'll get every single light red. But you'll sure look cool at the stoplight. Both are the same price. So which car will you choose? And this question is for Alex.
Which car would I choose? The car I would choose is definitely this Mint Perfect sports car. If I have this old ruggedy car, however, I have all these lights green, I might save some time on my trips. However, driving around in this old thing with no ventilation or comfy fancy seats will definitely not make me feel more cool. However, in this sports car, I will be having to wait at these red lights, but I get to sit in this great seat with ventilation, AC, a heater, and all these cool things on the screen I can play around with. Not only that, road trips will be longer. And unlike some other people, I absolutely love road trips, and I love getting to drive around and watching all the scenery. So for me, this one is pretty easy. I would definitely go with the Mint sports car with beautiful ventilated seats.
Thank you, Alex, for your response, and we'll see if you like your choice of the sports car. I'm sure you will. Now, to your parents' disappointment, you became a used car salesperson. Yet you excelled at your job so much that today you are just one sale away from winning your paid for 120-day around the world cruise. You have this client, Alex, who wants to buy a fancy sports car from you. However, you realize that he is not going to qualify for the car, and it will probably be repossessed. Will you sell him the car, or choose not to sell it to him and lose out on your 120-day around the world vacation? And this question is for Michelle.
As I look at him, he stares at me with eyes that ask me if I got him that or not. I think to myself, should I tell him that he probably will break this car and crash it? Or should I just give it to him so I can go on my cruise and leave this stinky place? Honestly, I could care less. I'm gonna be completely honest. No offense to anyone out there, but I could care less about your safety. I'm getting out of here. I do not want to stay here. Get me out of this place. Get me away from my brother. He is so stinky. I can barely stand him. I don't care. I'm gonna be completely honest. You can take the car. Give me that money. I'm gonna go. That's all, yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Well, I hope that you enjoy your 120-day around the world cruise trip. All right, our next question. You are the executive director of a youth orchestra, and you accidentally admitted a student who wasn't supposed to get into the orchestra. They show up at the first rehearsal really happy and excited, and they have their parents and grandparents who came to watch their first rehearsal. The student even gives you a thank you card. However, the music director told you to dismiss them immediately because they should not be in the orchestra. How will you proceed? And this question is for Claire.
If a student who wasn't supposed to get admitted to a youth orchestra, but for some reason I still accidentally send them that email telling them to come to the first rehearsal. Firstly, I would be surprised at how I could make such a mistake. But secondly, of course, I would feel very bad for the person who I admitted that happened to no longer have a spot in the orchestra. So what would I do? Firstly, I would check if maybe there's another orchestra within maybe the university or whoever is hosting the orchestra. If there is another opportunity that they can offer, could be a band or an orchestra or some other group activity that the student could participate in. If not, I could communicate with the band director to see if there are any exceptions. And I'm sure if I accidentally admitted the student, they must be super talented and amazing. So of course, they should gain entry into the youth orchestra anyways. So regardless, I would find a way to help the students still have an opportunity to be in an orchestra or activity of some sort. Thank you, and back to you, Caleb.
Thank you, Claire, for your response, and I do think that you made the right choice. Our next question. Upon graduating college, you are offered a 6-digit job sitting all day behind a computer desk. However, a friend of yours offers you a low-paying job doing something that you enjoy. Which one will you choose? And this question will go to Johnny.
There are two jobs, which is hard to pick because one is something that I like and the other one something that is stressful but pays a high amount of salary. So I would mostly go for the high payment because I mostly like to gain more money and see more money in the bank account of mine. But it could be tough for me because I mean something which I don't really like that much must be something that is really hard for me. I mean I really like computers, but not everything in the computer is my favorite. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Johnny, and I'm sure that you will be happy with the choice that you made. Our next question. And this question will go, I will say the question first. You are a Hollywood producer, and on your desk are 2 movies to remake, but you must choose one. I Love Lucy and Little House on the Prairie. Which one will you choose? And this question is for Rachel.
I have a feeling the question was for me, but could you repeat that? The internet was.
Sure. You are a Hollywood producer, and on your desk are 2 movies to remake, and you must choose one. I Love Lucy or Little House on the Prairie. Which one will you choose?
Um,
Rachel, it seems like your internet might just have frozen for a second. Maybe you
Oh,
can.
Rachel, maybe try turning off your camera just for when you hear the question. So maybe like turn off your camera now, and then Caleb will read the question to you. You respond, and then you can turn your camera on once more because the cam might be interfering with the bandwidth a bit.
Okay, I will try to repeat the question. Rachel, you are a Hollywood producer, and on your desk pop up 2 movies to remake, and you must choose one. I Love Lucy or Little House on the Prairie. Which movie will you choose?
I Love Lucy and Little House on the Prairie, 2 of my favorite shows that have been in my life for years, and now I have the opportunity to remake either of them. It's a tough decision, but I will have to go with Little House on the Prairie. While I like both shows very much, something about Little House on the Prairie has always spoken to me, and like my interest in the show has always been very significant in my life, and I would like to recreate that essence for people to enjoy over again because there are so many good points to the show. There are funny moments, sad moments, dramatic moments, and memorable characters, as well as lessons that anybody could benefit from, especially in modern times when things are so different, because surprisingly, a lot of lessons learned in the show can help us in the digital age. And if I had the opportunity to to remake Little House on the Prairie, I think it would not only be fun for me, but it would have a significant impact on society, and it'll be not only entertaining, but very insightful.
Thank you, Rachel, for your response, and I'm sure you will enjoy your time remaking Little House on the Prairie. All right, let us go to our next question. And this will probably be our last question. You are the construction manager building a huge apartment complex. You just received an email with the environmental report from a private company, and they discovered that the planned construction site is actually the breeding place of a rare butterfly. In your position, you can simply delete the email, suppress the report, and no one will ever know about the breeding place except for you. However, if you tell the investors and the board the project is canceled, and you, as well as 500 other workers, will lose their job. Even worse, you are due $1 million bonus upon completion of the project. What will you do? And this question is for William.
The environment is where we humans reside. Mother Earth, with all her splendors, has given us the fruit of her compassion and provided us with boundless natural resources. But when it comes to giving back, do we need to adhere to every single thing that Mother Earth has given us? I would argue not. My viewpoint might be overly anthropocentric, but in all its serendipity, one will realize that if we call off the project now, my firm, my construction company will lose all of its interests and the confidence of investors and the consumers themselves. People are counting on us to bring them the housing and the apartments that they need. And people have already talked to us beforehand, before our project was even completed, that they are willing to move in as tenants to our new apartment building. I also want to mention that I am employing hundreds upon hundreds of workers to build this complex. And if I call off the work that they've contributed so much to, that contributes to several $1,000s in wage cuts. How can it be in our best interest as a moral company to go back on our promises to our hard workers? And how can it be in our interest to stop months of hard work on our project with people depending on our housing? In the end, I would make this known that we did not know that this was a breeding ground from the environmental agency, and that they should have specified ahead of time that this was a protected site. Otherwise, we weren't able to plan around this, and people rely on our hard work. People rely on the wages we provide, and therefore our building shall go ahead.
Thank you, William, for your response. And I'm sure you're looking forward to your $1 million bonus when you finish the project. So thank you so much for your response. This concludes our table topic session for today. Thank you to everyone who participated, and I would like to hand it over to our Toastmaster of tonight, Ethan.
Thank you, Caleb, for those voice crack. How fun. Thank you, Caleb, for those very creative would you rather table topics prompts. Now we will go on to the general evaluation portion of this meeting, which will be led by Alex.
Yep. Thank you, Ethan. So to lead off the evaluation, let me check this agenda to make sure I'm right. Ethan will be our speech one evaluator.
Yeah, I'm back. How fun. So now I'll give my evaluation of Michelle's speech, which one of the first things I want everybody to notice is her vocal variety seems to have improved from the last time I remember her giving a speech. It was actually pretty good. She had many ups and downs that were she had many ups and downs that were directly correlated to the subject matter and context of her speech, and I'd like to compliment her for that. She also had good clarity, and I rated her a 5 out of 5 on topic because even though the criteria says topic is new or unusual for audience members and challenges speaker to adapt while presenting, her topic was, I wouldn't call her topic either new or unusual because it has been talked about for a long time, but it is not only one, A, relevant, B, it was presented in a way that was interesting. So I still give it a 5 out of 5 because who cares about criteria? Sometimes criteria are too rigid, man. Yeah, just who cares? Anyways, one of the main things that I would like to challenge her on is for more expansive and visible gestures, especially when sitting, because I couldn't see too many of them in tonight's speech. So that might be something you want to consider in the future, which is also why I chose to stand up for some of my more recent speeches, even though it is a pain in the butt to set up. So, but all in all, that was a very great speech you gave tonight, Rochelle. And I'll hand it back to the general evaluator, Alex, or the general evaluator, Alex, because he seems to have spelled it with an M. So I'll just follow that, I guess, because it could be intentional for all we know.
My bad for spelling it. I'm not very good at spelling. Let me check the agenda just to make sure. So next up, we have speech 2 evaluator, which is Claire, I believe.
Thank you, Alex. Rachel, your speech today has inspired us to find the joys in life, even if we are struggling. Fellow Toastmasters and Rachel, today my evaluation will be divided into 3 parts. What you excelled at, what you may want to work on, and what you can even challenge yourself with in future speeches. Firstly, I loved how Rachel started off with a captivating hook. Even before her hook, she stated her title, and it was much longer than I expected. So before she even had her whole introduction, I was already hooked by her title, and that allowed me to be focused and interested throughout her speech. Secondly, I loved how Rachel shared honesty and vulnerability throughout her personal stories. She shared her honest feelings with us about how she may be feeling stressed or anxious about the struggles that she's been facing this September. And sharing these relatable examples immediately allows them to connect with us, like experiences from my own life. And that has created more shared connections with your audience. Now, I hope to transition into some aspects that will help you help the audience even more in your future speeches. Firstly, I would have loved to hear you link your message throughout the entire speech. For example, in the beginning and middle of your speech, I noticed a big chunk of it was a lot of stories. And while stories are amazing, like I just mentioned, I would have loved maybe if you incorporated a little bit of the message bit by bit throughout those stories, like making your story structured, maybe 2 to 3 stories that show what you were in the past, what change you experienced, how you are now. Something like that can really help to elevate your speech. Secondly, maybe instead of directly telling the audience that you will be moving on to serious stories or whatever it is you're about to do, show that by using your vocal variety and even adding a little bit of suspense into it. For example, you can make your voice lower. You can even talk slower, create pauses, and this will allow you to hook the audience and make them want to get closer to listen to what you have to say. And finally, to challenge yourself, I suggest you show a bit more variety and examples specifically tailored for the audience to create an even higher level of relatability. For example, you could give us several examples of the different struggles that we may have faced in the form of questions, or like, imagine this. For example, imagine this month has been a roller coaster. You just failed your important audition, you have so many exams coming up, and so on. And by creating these specific examples, you can then follow that by maybe step by step solutions or ideas for what the audience can do. So to summarize, I loved how Rachel used a captivating hook and honesty throughout her personal stories. But by focusing a little more on weaving the message throughout the full stories, vocal variety, and specific examples tailored to the audience, Rachel, I am so confident that you will continue to inspire us to conquer and learn from our life struggles. Thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have the awe counter, which will be Claire again. So take it away, Claire.
Yep, thank you, Alex. Overall, I did not notice that many like as today. But overall, I would just say I noticed a little bit of repeats just from some people. I don't have like exactly each person how many or but overall, I noticed that that has improved a lot, like the filler words. And yeah, so I would just say keep it up.
Thank you. And then, oh wait, I forgot again. Crap. Grammarian report is next, which will be William. Take it away.
Future leaders, I think that we've encountered just a bit of serendipity tonight, as our current word of the day count is at 3. 3 counts of serendipity, which I now just made it 4, but that doesn't count. So we had 1 count of serendipity from Rachel, 1 count of actually using serendipity from me. I don't remember who was the third person who used serendipity in their speech or their speaking portions. So apologies if that was you. But either way, I'd like to just say keep up the good work with using word of the days. I'd like to encourage all of you to keep using word of the days. Yes, Caleb, let's work on a word of the day contest. There were times where I think Caleb even got 30 word of the days in one meeting. So that was a wild ride. Okay, now for a more detailed evaluation of grammar and good words. So I'd like to start first with Toastmaster Ethan. Mostly you have very complex vocabulary and you have a very complex speaking style as well. But I just noticed that throughout your speaking as a Toastmaster, you sometimes would put in some very simple words. So for example, doing that, to do is one of the 5 banned verbs. So if you are trying to stay away from do, you can replace it with a more active verb to help improve the quality of your speaking. Also, I would shy away from using the modifier or adjective really good, because so many people say really good that it kind of just loses its meaning. I'd like to point out good phrasing of bit rate. I know it's not really good phrasing, but I liked that addition into some of your speaking portions. Meanwhile, for speech 1, Michelle, this speech really resonated with me because a few years ago I watched the exact same documentary, and one of my very first speeches in Toastmasters here was called The Social Media Dilemma. And this felt so nostalgic to me because it was basically the same speech, but through a different person's mouth. So I thought that you did very well in your phrasing. I think you used the word morph, so like morphing ideas into the thought process. That was very powerful. I would suggest that you say that uh, you can pause before a sentence to think about what you're saying, because sometimes what happens is that you break in the middle of the sentence and then that would lead to awkward grammar. For example, social media, they manipulate us. So it's a little awkward there, but other than that, it was pretty good. Rachel, I thought you had good phrasing as well, good use of words, stress, anxiety, those words thrown about within your speech. I would say that I would improve your central message of sometimes it's hard to see the good and bad in all situations, because good and bad is also doesn't mean much in the context because it's a very simple word. So if you can say it's hard to see the silver lining, it's hard to see areas of improvement, that would add a lot more meaning to your speech. Moving on to Caleb, good phrasing is just decision dilemmas. I liked that. That's both assonance and alliteration. So good job. Ethan, I would say that you had some also a little bit of band phrasing. I would say a bit interesting is also very common, but as a good speaker yourself, you're pretty good on the rest of your phrasing. Eliana, I thought you did a great job in referring to intercultural and interethnic bridges, so that was nice. Alex, um, Alex, I really liked your phrasing of old, ruggedy, beat up beat up car, and I thought that added a certain amount of imagery to your speaking, and just a great table topics portion in general. Moving on to table topics speaker for Michelle, you also had mostly good phrasing throughout your table topics speech. I would say I would give the same advice here because there was one rather awkward instance in your table topic speech where I think you might have been rushing a little too much, and then you said he stares back at me with eyes. So I found that a little funny, and I had to disappear off screen to just laugh it out a little, but it added some humor to your speech, and sometimes the speeding errors are a little hard to avoid. So that's the only thing that I caught in specific. Claire, really good phrasing in in your table topic speech. I would just say also shy away from using good or bad as adjectives. So you used very bad in your table topic speech, tried to replace bad with, I don't know, a terrible, horrible, or something along the lines, a more powerful synonym. Moving on to general evaluator Alex, also pretty good. I'm not, oh, I'm using it too. Good, bad, I should, excellent. I thought that you could change out your uses of which will be when you're introducing speakers and functionaries to who is, because you're referring to people. Ethan, you have uh you have pretty good phrasing in your evaluation, and the only thing I would improve is actually pretty good, as in like the adjective. So just as general advice to everyone, try it if you want to pause a bit before sentences and think about what you're going to say in the sentence, try to keep in mind more powerful adjectives or active verbs. Those will really help you in your speaking. Moving on to Claire, I'll just combine your evaluation and your account. You had a lot of great words, very active words in your evaluation. So vulnerability, captivating, connecting, incorporating. So those are very powerful. Good job on those. Oh, I completely missed table topics 7, 7 and 6. So I'll just circle back to Janya and Rachel really quick. For Janya, I thought your phrasing was well executed as well. I would just stay away from like and don't like. So you could instead use favor or I don't favor. I I I'm not keen of, because like and don't like are also very common verbs. And Rachel, fun is a bad word. So if you're thinking of improving a bit of the meaning behind your speech, maybe swapping out fun with something else would help even more. And I thought that, oh, right. And my own table topics session, I thought that I had some awkward phrasing at the very end where I said, go ahead, like my building should go ahead. I should say construction on the building should proceed. So I was a bit proud of myself for catching that. And that ends my extensively overtime grammarian report. I can't wait to see what John has to say for this time.
Thank you, William, for your excellently detailed grammarian report and your excellently long grammarian report. So now we will pass it on to Janya. Take it away.
Thank you, Alex. A lot of people had lesser time than the minimum time required, but I think it's okay. Michelle had 4 minutes 39 seconds, which is a little below the time, but I think you can increase a little bit more in the speech. But the content was pretty good, so I wouldn't blame. Rachel had 5 minutes 56 seconds, which is pretty good. Ethan had 58 seconds, which we can round it off to 1 minute. Eliana also had 57 seconds, and Alex had 57 seconds, which can be rounded off to 1 minute. So, yeah. And Michelle had 46 seconds, which could be increased a little more. Claire had 1 minute 28 seconds. Rachel had 1 minute 32 seconds. William had 2 minutes 16 seconds, which was overtime, but just by 16 seconds, so I guess it's okay. For the evaluations, Ethan had 1 minute 28 seconds, which was below the time minimum time required. So yeah, so just more adding more content or something. I don't know. And Claire had 3 minutes 54 seconds, which was I think overtime, right? Yeah, it was overtime. I mean, it could be because of my backgrounds. I kind of messed up with it, so I'm sorry about that. And then William had about 11 minutes, which was extremely overtimed. But I mean, it really helped the others, so I guess it's fine. Thank you, and back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Janya. Guess it's my turn to talk now. Ooh, let me think. I need to give firstly big kudos over to Rachel for giving a speech in her car. I could honestly never do that. I would get an awful headache and I would start crying, but I really do think it's impressive that you could give a really nice speech in a car. So again, kudos. I'd also like to thank Ethan and Claire for stepping up for speech evaluation. It really helped this meeting be well on time. And I just thank you. I mean, it's not much for me to say. I don't know what to say. Okay, I need to go back to doing homework. So back to you, Caleb.
Thank you, Alex, for your report. And thank you for joining us from Ohio, where I think it's like 9:10 p.m. And thank you for being dedicated. And I'm sure you're improving a lot. And we're all enjoying having you in our meeting. So thank you so much, Alex. I also want to thank everyone who participated in our meeting tonight. Of course, Michelle, great speech. As always, you've improved a lot, like everyone else. And Rachel, again, from the car, that was pretty incredible. I think the only other person who has given a speech or a table topics answer from the car was William. He gave a table topics answer from the car once, and it was really inspirational and really good. That's the only other instance that I can think of, and you are the only speech that I think has been given in the car. So well done, great inspiration. And table topics, everyone did great. Congratulations to Eliana for your first time as doing a table topic speech. You did a great, great job. And of course, William's incredible grammarian report, or long, lengthy grammarian report, but you gave us so much incredible detail that it was well worth it. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you to our evaluators like Claire, Ethan, and all our table topics responses, as well as our all counter and grammarian. All right, so I would like to end this meeting tonight. Remember to invite all your friends to the club, as they can all improve and get better at their public speaking. Anyone, all different levels of public speaking are welcome. So we will just invite your friends, and they will really benefit, and it will be fun for you to watch how they grow as well. All right, at 7 At 6:58 p.m. Pacific time, I would like to adjourn this meeting.